This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Narmeen Sheikh, joined by Amy Goodman. In Pakistan, independent candidates affiliated with imprisoned former Prime Minister Imran Khan are leading the country's elections as official results continue to come in. The results so far have come as a surprise to many observers, given the extent of support to PTI loyalists. Khan supporters have accused Pakistan's military-backed interim government of trying to rig the election by shutting down cell phone and internet services just as voting began and by delaying election results. Khan was disqualified from running in Thursday's election because of criminal convictions he says were politically motivated. He was imprisoned in the run-up to the election. In a close second so far are candidates with the Pakistan Muslim League Party of three-time former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif, who's backed by the military. Sharif returned to Pakistan in October after 4 years of self-imposed exile abroad to avoid serving prison sentences in corruption cases. Within weeks of his return, his convictions were overturned, leaving him free to seek a fourth term in office. And coming in third so far is the Pakistan People's Party, led by Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. For more, we're joined by Alia Amir Ali, Pakistani political activist and organizer. She's a member of the left wing Awami Workers' Party, normally based in Islamabad, but joins us today from London, where she's a graduate student at the London School of Economics. And in Karachi, we're joined by Munize Jahangir, journalist and host of a political talk show on Pakistan's leading news network, where she's been covering the elections. She's also editor-in-chief of the digital media platform voicepk.net. She's co-chair of the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Munize Jahangir, why don't we begin with you? Tell us about the election results, what you see coming in, the latest news. I'm afraid we seem to have lost Munize. We'll try to get back to her. Alia Amir Ali, if you could comment on what you see coming out of Pakistan.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, the fact that the results continue to pour in so slowly and are so delayed is itself an indicator that whatever the results actually end up being, they're not particularly credible. And so I think that irrespective of the results, the political crisis that we're seeing in Pakistan is going to continue. And I think it's worth remembering that, you know, in Pakistan, this is not unusual. Like, elections have never been a straightforward affair where people just come out and make their will known. I mean, it's worth remembering that the first general elections in the country in 1970 were, in fact, you know, not just dismissed by the military establishment, but, you know, ended up being the first time in history where a majority actually separated from a country. I'm referring to Bangladesh. And ever since then, I mean, elections in Pakistan have always been a more or less controlled affair. What I think is different, though, about these elections and what has been happening successively in Pakistan is an increasingly this military control over over Pakistan's political affairs is becoming increasingly tense and untenable. We're seeing this time, you know, there's this very large, young and politicized electorate, and also an increasingly divided electorate. I mean, if we look at just voting patterns and how people are approaching and how meaningful elections are in the center versus Pakistan's peripheries, there's, you know, the political gulf between center and periphery is increasing, and these elections are going to be, a clear indicator of that. And I think finally, quite irrespective of Imran Khan being the opposition, and I think at least the unofficial results that have been coming in over social media ever since yesterday do show that the PTI has gotten a lot of seats, and perhaps the official results will not reflect that as accurately as perhaps the actual results have. But I think it's worth remembering that the PTI is basically composed of electables who have belonged to different parties at different times, and, who have sort of jumped ship, let's just say, from one party to the other in the past, who are basically local landlords, chieftains, businessmen, and have been part of the political establishment for a very, very long time. So I think in terms of what Pakistan is facing, its economic crisis, its climate crisis, the ecological crisis, and then the political crisis in the peripheries, irrespective of who comes to power, neither the military leadership nor any of these political parties seem to have a solution to this.
Okay, we seem to have gotten Munize Jahangir back on the line. Munize, if you could respond to what's happening. You were following the election minute by minute for your own news program. What most struck you as results were coming in, and what do you see today? What are the results so far?
Well, one of the first things that is of immediate concern is that the results were supposed to be released this morning at 10 a.m. Now, several hours later, we still do not have the results of the complete results of this general election, and there is no clarity on who is going to be forming government in the center and who is going to be forming government in Punjab, simply because the symbol from the PTI, the Imran Khan-backed party, was taken away, and as a result, it threw up many independents. So right now in the lead are PTI-backed independent candidates that are 52, and then following close is Nawaz Sharif-backed PMLN with 40 candidates. And then there's the Pakistan People's Party of the Bhuttos with 19 candidates. So it's up in the air exactly how many seats each party has got, and whether the PTI will be allowed to form a party and also, continue in the National Assembly in the form of a political party, which means that they will then get reserved seats, which will shore up their majority, and they will be in a clear position to then make government in the center. They are claiming that they can make government in the center and in the biggest province of Punjab, of Pakistan, which is Punjab. However, we have not seen the actual results. The problem in Pakistan has been that there was an election management system that was dependent on the internet. Now, internet signals went down, and earlier on, there were certain government ministers who kept on saying that there is a terror threat, and therefore we will be shutting down the internet. When there was an outcry over that decision, the government, the caretaker government, backtracked and announced that they will in fact not be blocking the internet. But lo and behold, when everybody woke up in the morning to go and vote, the internet across Pakistan and data services across Pakistan was being blocked. Even as we speak now, and it is the second day of the election, and it's 7 p.m. in Pakistan, we still do not have a proper signals across Pakistan. So as a result, people were not able to get to the polling stations the way they wanted. There was a fear factor that settled in. Having said that, we still saw a substantial turnout in this election. We still saw an eager voter wanting to go out and vote. We saw women come out in substantial numbers to come out and vote. And I think that was the biggest concern, that the people have spoken. They have voted against a party that was seen to be pro-establishment and voted for a party, that was seen to be against the establishment. But are the results going to be accepted? We are now getting information and reports from the ground that returning officers, which were appointed by the Election Commission to deliver the results, one of them in Lahore has been picked up. We do not know where he is. The candidate has cried foul and gone to the court. In other cases, we are seeing that the form that was supposed to be submitted, they are showing different numbers. The initial forms that were submitted to the Election Commission, which the media had got a hand of, which was called the Form 45, which the presiding officers were supposed to give the residing officers, they had a different outcome, and the one that the residing officers gave to the Election Commission has a different outcome. We are also receiving reports that the residing officers were confined to certain rooms by the military, and of course these are reports that are unconfirmed, but certainly there is enough evidence to suggest that during the night there was significant manipulation of the results as they were coming out.
I want to go back to Alia Al-Amari, who is in London right now, but closely following the Pakistan elections. For a global audience, Alia, who are not closely following politics in Pakistan, if you can explain to us how the system is working right now. We saw the violence in the lead up to the election, candidates gunned down, the telecommunications going down. You had PTI barred, so Imran Khan's party, Imran Khan, who has been jailed for corruption, running as independents because the party is barred. Nawaz Sharif, who was imprisoned for a time, coming up second. Do you agree that all these independents that seem to be ahead now, they're saying the reason the results aren't in is because they're being tampered with, they're being finagled with? But for a global audience, to put this election in context and where the military stands, the Pakistani military stands in the middle of all of this, such a powerhouse in running Pakistan.
Yeah. As I said earlier, I think it's important to remember the history of, I prefer to use the term civilian rule rather than democracy, because it literally is just the battle for, elections to simply take place and their results to be accepted has been a constant struggle for Pakistan since its inception. We have to remember that the first general elections took place in 1970. The country was created in 1947. We've still spent more than half of our political history under direct military rule. And as I said earlier, where we began, the 1970 elections, the results were not accepted, and we lost more than half of what was then, Pakistan as a result. And I think what has happened over time is that the military establishment has become more and more insecure, and that insecurity has meant greater attempts to manipulate and control not just the electoral process and its technicalities, but there's a whole sort of foreplay that happens beforehand about and alliances that are made. And in Pakistan, it's common knowledge for people to assume that governments are made. It's not that elections don't, that people's votes
Alia, you have
don't
10
matter.
seconds. 10 seconds.
Okay. So it's not that people's votes don't matter. It's just that, the military will certainly manipulate the results.
Alia Amir Ali, Pakistani political activist and organizer, thank you so much for joining us. Muniza Jahangir, journalist and host of a political talk show on Pakistan's leading news network. That does it for the show. I'm Narmeen Sheikh with Amy Goodman. A happy early birthday to Messiah Rhodes. Democracy Now! Is produced with Renee Feltz, Mike Burke, Dina Guzder, Messiah Rhodes, Narmeen Sheikh, Maria Tarasena, Tammy Warrenoff, Charina Nadura, Sam Alkoff, and Te Maria Estudio. Thank you so much for joining me.